Where's Chris? There she is. Children, well, most of you are on the front row, but come on up. Children, Chris has a story.
Come on over here, guys.
Right, this side, this
This
time.
side. There's no room with the table. Sorry. Yep. Want all my kids. There's room over here if you want to, guys. Sarah and Jean, come slide over here. Hi, Annabelle. Oh. Can you hand me your Bible? Can you hand me a Bible under there? I forgot to grab one. I just need any Bible. Okay. I have two books up here. What's this one here? The Bible. Okay. And I have another book up here called The Three Trees. You tell me really quick which one has all the truth that we need to know in. Okay, the Bible. Okay. This little book is not a true story, but it points to Jesus. Okay? Somebody with some talented writing and some talented drawing made this book to help us look to Jesus. Okay? So I'm going to read this book. Okay? All right. It's called The Tale of the Three Trees. Once upon a mountaintop, three trees stood and dreamed of what they wanted to become when they grew up. There's three. 1, 2, 3. 3 little trees. The first little tree looked up at the stars twinkling like diamonds above him. I want to hold a treasure, he said. I want to be covered with gold and filled with precious stones. I will be the most beautiful treasure chest in the whole world. The second little tree looked out at the small stream trickling by on its way to the ocean. I want to be a strong sailing ship, he said. I want to travel mighty waters and carry powerful kings. I will be the strongest ship in the world. The third little tree looked down into the valley below, where busy men and busy women worked in the busy town. I don't want to leave this mountaintop at all, she said. I want to grow so tall that when people stop and look at me, they will raise their eyes to heaven and think of God. I will be the tallest tree in the world. Years passed, the rains came, the sun shone, and the little trees grew tall. One day, 3 woodcutters climbed the mountain. The first woodcutter looked at the first tree and said, "This tree is beautiful. It is perfect for me." With a swoop of his shiny axe, the first tree fell. Now I shall be made into a beautiful chest, thought the first tree. I shall hold a wonderful treasure. The second woodcutter looked at the second tree and said, "This tree is strong. It is perfect for me." With a swoop of his shiny axe, the second tree fell. Now I shall sail mighty waters, thought the second tree. I shall be a strong ship fit for kings. The third tree felt her heart sink when the last woodcutter looked her way. She stood straight and tall and pointed bravely to heaven, but the woodcutter never even looked up. Any kind of tree will be fine for me, he said. With a swoop of his shiny axe, the third tree fell. The first tree, did I skip a page? No. The first tree rejoiced when the woodcutter brought him to a carpenter shop. But the busy carpenter was not thinking about treasure chests. Instead, his work-worn hands fashioned the tree into a feed box for animals. The once beautiful tree was not covered with gold or filled with treasure. He was coated with sawdust and filled with hay for hungry farm animals. The second tree smiled when the woodcutter took him to the shipyard, but no mighty sailing ships were being made that day. Instead, the once strong tree was hammered and sawed into a simple fishing boat. Too small and too weak to sail the oceans or even a river, he was taken to a little lake. Every day, he brought in loads of dead, smelly fish. The third tree was confused when the woodcutter cut him into strong beams and left her in a lumber yard. What happened? The once tall tree wondered. All I ever wanted to do was stay on the mountaintop and point to God. Many, many days and nights passed. The three trees nearly forgot their dreams. But one night, golden starlight poured over the first tree as a young woman placed her newborn baby in the feed box. I wish I could make a cradle for him, her husband whispered. The mother squeezed his hand and smiled as the starlight shone on the smooth and sturdy wood. This manger is beautiful, she said, and suddenly the first tree knew he was holding the greatest treasure in the world. One evening, a tired traveler and his friends crowded into an old fishing boat. The traveler fell asleep as the second tree quietly sailed out into the lake. Soon, a thundering and thrashing storm arose. The little tree shuddered. He knew he did not have the strength to carry so many passengers safely through the wind and rain. The tired man awakened. He stood up, stretched out his hands, and said, "Peace." The storm stopped as quickly as it had begun, and suddenly the second tree knew he was carrying the King of heaven and earth. One Friday morning, the third tree was startled when her beams were yanked from the forgotten woodpile. She flinched as she was carried through the angry, jeering crowd. She shuddered when soldiers nailed a man's hands to her. She felt ugly and harsh and cruel. But on Sunday morning, when the sun arose and the earth trembled with joy beneath her, the third tree knew that God's love had changed everything. It had made the first tree beautiful. It had made the second tree strong. And every time people thought of the third tree, they would think of God. That was better than being the tallest tree in the world. Isn't that cool? We have 3 trees in our sanctuary that point to Jesus, okay? The little one, the one on the right, reminds us of the tree, the first tree, that wanted to be the treasure. But instead, the back tree is the one that points. No, I was right. Sorry. Okay, the one on the right is going to be our manger tree, the one that the tree was turned into a box, okay? It has stars on it. It has shepherd's hooks, and it will soon have your mangers that some of you painted, okay? The one in the front is the one that was changed into a sailing ship for a king, okay? That you're going to put some boats on, okay? That one is kind of our tree. It was for the disciples and for the church. Okay? That one's to remind us to share Jesus with the world. The back one is the one that wanted to stand tall and point to Jesus. The last one I'm going to call the Jesus tree. Okay? It has the crosses that we're going to put on it. And then there's crowns of thorns. There's the Lion of Judah. There's the Trinity. There's more crosses. So when you look at those, what are they going to point to? God. They all remind us of God. Okay? Thank you for being good listeners. You guys can go back to your moms. The big tree is the cross tree.